Welcome back to the channel, Cowboys Nation. It's time to buckle in because we've got a full slate of updates out of OTAs that are going to get fans fired up, raise some eyebrows, and maybe even spark a bit of controversy. With organized team activities in full swing, there's no shortage of buzz coming out of the Star in Frisco. From major trade whispers involving a defensive superstar, to candid comments from Stephen Jones on the direction of the team, Micah Parsons showing signs of evolution as a player and leader, George Pickens popping up in headlines connected to Dallas, and several key injury updates that are causing both concern and hope. There is a lot to unpack today. So grab your gear, Cowboys fans, because this one is packed wall to wall with intriguing developments that could shape the 2025 season in a big way. Let's start with the news that has ignited social media and stirred some heated barbershop and radio debates: the growing buzz around Jalen Ramsey. That's right, the perennial All-Pro cornerback, currently with the Miami Dolphins, is being linked to the Cowboys, and it's not just fan speculation this time. Multiple sources around the league have confirmed that exploratory conversations have occurred, and none other than Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones was asked directly about the situation during a press availability at OTAs. While Stephen didn't confirm any specific trade discussions, his carefully crafted response has fueled speculation rather than silenced it. He said, "We're always looking at ways to improve our roster. That includes evaluating high-level players that might become available. But it has to make sense from both a football and financial standpoint." That may sound like a standard executive deflection, but in the context of Ramsey's current situation and Dallas' all-in mentality this offseason, those words carry weight. The Cowboys have made it no secret that they believe this is a Super Bowl-caliber roster. They've extended their core, brought in young talent, and added a few calculated veterans. But the Achilles heel last season, especially late in the playoffs, was the secondary's inconsistency, and the injury to Trayvon Diggs made that problem even more glaring. Adding Ramsey, a seasoned veteran with championship experience and elite shutdown ability, would instantly elevate the defensive backfield and give Dan Quinn, who is once again guiding the Cowboys defense after turning down head coaching interviews, even more flexibility schematically. What makes this even more compelling is that Ramsey himself is reportedly open to a change of scenery, having grown frustrated with Miami's defensive identity under a new coordinator. And Ramsey has always held a certain admiration for the Cowboys franchise. Growing up in Tennessee, he frequently spoke about Dallas being America's team and has never hidden his respect for their brand. Of course, the big hurdle is financial. Ramsey carries a significant cap hit, and Dallas is already navigating tight waters with contract situations involving CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, and Micah Parsons. But that's where the second half of Stephen Jones' statement, "it has to make sense financially," becomes the center of attention. Could the Cowboys negotiate a restructure with Ramsey? Would Miami eat part of the contract to facilitate the move? These are the kinds of questions that will be asked behind closed doors in the coming weeks. But make no mistake, the Cowboys have done bigger deals before. And if they think Ramsey is the missing piece to a Lombardi, you better believe they'll at least explore every avenue. While we're on the subject of Micah Parsons, let's shift gears to what's happening with him at OTAs. There's been no shortage of chatter around Micah lately, not just because he's one of the best defensive players in the game, but because he's been carving out a new identity both on and off the field. Parsons has come into OTAs looking leaner, sharper, and noticeably more vocal. He's taken on a more active leadership role, something his teammates and coaches have been quick to point out. And perhaps most intriguingly, he's been taking more reps at traditional linebacker positions, not just as an edge rusher. This development has raised some eyebrows. Is Dan Quinn looking to diversify Micah's role to confuse offenses even more? Could Parsons be moving around the field in 2025 the way players like Lawrence Taylor and Ray Lewis used to? The idea of using Parsons in a roving role, blitzing, dropping into coverage, reading offenses from the middle is tantalizing for fans and terrifying for opponents. Micah himself addressed these changes after a spirited practice session, telling reporters, "I want to be the best all-around defensive player in the league. That means not just sacks, not just pressures. It means tackles, interceptions, forced fumbles, and leadership. I'm embracing it all this year." That level of maturity and commitment is exactly what you want to hear from your franchise cornerstone. But it also raises questions about how Dallas will scheme around him. Will they still use him on the edge as frequently? Will his versatility mean fewer sack numbers but more total impact plays? These are chessboard-level questions Dan Quinn seems excited to answer. And the fact that Micah is the one pushing for this evolution tells you everything you need to know about his mindset heading into what could be a career-defining season. Now, we need to address the elephant in the room, or perhaps the potential new arrival in the room, and that's George Pickens. The Pittsburgh Steelers wideout has found himself the subject of trade rumors in recent weeks, and surprisingly, Dallas has emerged as a team reportedly doing its homework on the situation. Now let's be clear, this doesn't mean a trade is imminent, or even likely. But it does mean that Dallas is aware of Pickens' availability, and is at least internally discussing what it would take to bring him aboard. The move would certainly raise eyebrows. Pickens is supremely talented, has highlight reel ability, and would give the Cowboys a legit outside threat opposite CeeDee Lamb, especially important now that Brandon Cooks is getting older and Michael Gallup's future remains in question. But there are also questions about Pickens' fit. He's known to be a bit of a personality, passionate, intense, and sometimes unpredictable. The Cowboys' locker room already has strong voices, and the coaching staff would need to feel confident that Pickens' addition would enhance, not disrupt, the chemistry. Still, there's no denying the football upside. In Pittsburgh, Pickens flashed elite hands, body control, and deep ball ability. On a team like Dallas with a better offensive line and a quarterback who likes to throw deep, Pickens could be even more dangerous. Stephen Jones once again played it close to the vest when asked about the wide receiver market, saying only, "We're always looking for explosive playmakers. If there's a guy who fits our culture and can help us win, we're going to take a look." The Cowboys know they need to surround Dak with elite weapons if they want to keep pace with teams like the 49ers and Eagles. Whether Pickens becomes a real option or just off-season chatter remains to be seen, but the interest appears to be real. Switching gears now to some injury updates out of OTAs, and unfortunately, not all of them are good. The biggest headline was the absence of linebacker DeMarvion Overshown, who continues to rehab his torn ACL suffered last preseason. While his recovery has reportedly gone smoothly, the team is being cautious, and Overshown has yet to take full team reps. There is optimism he'll be ready for training camp, but as we know, ACL recoveries are tricky, especially for players who rely heavily on lateral movement and explosiveness. Coaches are encouraged by his mental approach and how involved he's been during meetings and positional drills, but the Cowboys desperately need Overshown to be fully healthy, especially if Parsons is being used in more hybrid roles. On the offensive side, there was some concern when rookie tackle Tyler Guyton came up limping during a drill. Thankfully, it appears to have just been a minor scare, a cramp or light strain, but it highlighted how thin the Cowboys' depth at offensive tackle remains. With Tyron Smith gone and Terrence Steele still recovering from last year's injury-riddled campaign, Dallas is counting on Guyton to contribute early. The good news is he returned to light participation the next day, but the situation is one to monitor closely. Wide receiver Jalen Tolbert also missed a day of practice with what was described as tightness in his hamstring. Again, not serious, but when you're fighting for snaps in a crowded room, even minor absences matter. Tolbert has shown flashes, but with names like CeeDee, Cooks, and potentially Pickens ahead of him, he can't afford to miss time. Then there's the curious case of Tony Pollard's replacement. With Pollard now in Tennessee, the running back room is wide open. Rico Dowdle has taken the bulk of first-team reps, and there's been some buzz around undrafted rookie Nathaniel Peat. However, both players have had moments of inconsistency, particularly in pass protection. That's something running backs coach Jeff Blasco emphasized after practice. We need guys who can keep the quarterback clean. That's non-negotiable, he said. Which begs the question, could the Cowboys still add a veteran back like Kareem Hunt or bring in a camp invite to stir competition? It's a position to keep an eye on, especially if the offense wants to maintain balance. All in all, the mood around OTAs is upbeat, focused, and charged with urgency. Mike McCarthy, now in his final contract year and less extended, has taken on a noticeably more hands-on role. He's been more vocal in drills, more present in position meetings, and more assertive in offensive planning sessions. There's a sense that he knows the clock is ticking not just on his tenure, but on the Cowboys' championship window. With Dak Prescott now in the second half of his career and young stars like Parsons and Lamb becoming financial priorities, the time to win is now. And McCarthy appears to be embracing that pressure. It's also worth mentioning how much of a mentor role veteran players like Zach Martin and DeMarcus Lawrence have taken on. Martin, in particular, has spent time working one-on-one with younger linemen like Asim Richards and T.J. Bass. Lawrence has been seen coaching up rookies in between drills, giving pointers, and keeping the energy high. That kind of internal leadership is invaluable and often goes unnoticed outside the building. But make no mistake, it's part of why Dallas continues to stay in the hunt year after year. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Cowboys OTAs, one thing is abundantly clear: this team is locked in. From potential blockbuster trades to subtle schematic shifts and promising young talent stepping up, the Cowboys are making moves, some obvious, some behind the scenes, to position themselves as serious contenders in 2025. Whether or not the Jalen Ramsey or George Pickens rumors materialize, the very fact that Dallas is in those conversations tells you how aggressive the front office is being. Stephen Jones isn't sitting on his hands. He sees the opportunity, and he's going for it. And as long as Micah Parsons continues to evolve and lead, anything is possible. That's all for now, Cowboys fans. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want to stay locked into all the breaking news, roster moves, and trade rumors, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Cowboys.